Hi everybody, this is Britta. The readings this week were pretty interesting. I learned a lot about the ways that our society has changed throughout all of the years with um, in respect to its view on drugs, its view on addiction, how we treat people with addictions, just like how people with mental illnesses have been treated um, differently throughout different, you know, times in our society. Um, this week I realized that there was a difference between addiction and dependency that I hadn't really thought of before. So addiction being the driving behavior, and the dependency being the body's physiological response to withdrawal. Um, and I thought that was pretty interesting the way that those terms are exchanged, um, you know, pretty pretty much across the board. I've seen both of those words being used for the same thing, but now I know they're different. I also learned about how treatment is not one size fits all, but that the strengths perspective can take elements from different types of treatment, like AA, for example, and help the individual find what's right for them, which is super empowering, I think. Um, when it comes to drug addiction in society, I think a lot of people think of hard drugs and street drugs just because that's what's been out there, like in the media or in movies and TV. Um, a lot of propaganda with the war on drugs about who uses drugs and what they look like. Um, I think a lot of people have this idea in their head of somebody whose life is completely in shambles. They're living out of a box, that kind of thing. But the reality is, I also think about pharmaceuticals and opiate use now that that's a much bigger issue in society. Anybody can be affected by addiction. The readings this week highlighted that substance use, drug use, alcohol use have pretty much always been a part of our society in one way or another. Um, but our social response to addiction has changed pretty drastically throughout the years. I mean, there was a time when Coca-Cola was made with cocaine in it and caffeine. Like that's the doctors would prescribe people, drugs, hard drugs for ailments that now we think is just completely, like, we can't even believe that that happened at certain times. Um, or when we had to drink beer and wine instead of water because that was the safest option. Um, so all of that to say, we have to take account the social context of and the historical context of the times of where we're living right now and what has gotten us to this point. Um, I don't believe that drugs or alcohol are good or bad, or that it's a moral impairment for somebody who has addictions. Um, I think it's easy to try and label these things, but humanity is so much more complex than that. And as the book said, you can't abuse something that is inanimate. You can't abuse drugs. But when we focus on the use or the misuse of substances, I think that then we can put more empowerment on the individual to choose, do I use this? Do I put this aside? Um, this week, I also learned that there's a lot more factors that contribute to substance use than I originally thought. It's not just genetics, though they can play a part. It's not, just somebody's environment, but that certainly can play a part too. So we have to think more about um, the whole picture with somebody. So if they've been through an incredible loss, if they've ever had any type of trauma, if they've lost their job, um, what their lifestyle is like, what their relationships are like, their interpersonal life. Um, so there are a lot of other factors that we have to consider in order to help somebody find the right path to treatment and recovery that would work best for them and their lifestyle. Society definitely plays a big part in the way that people think about drugs, but it also contributes to the way that people stay stuck in a cycle of addiction. So politicians who have waged war on drugs have advertently and inadvertently targeted people of color, contributing to the revolving door of mass incarceration. A lot of the messages we receive about people who have addictions are that they're weak or criminals, that they have less value than others, that they're making poor choices. But when looking at addiction from a holistic standpoint, with the strengths perspective that we talked about this week, we see that everybody has their own reasons for using, but that shame never really truly aids healing. And that kind of mentality just keeps people in that vicious cycle. Okay, thank you.